Let's talk about training. An Ironman triathlon is an extreme endurance event consisting of 2.4 miles of swimming, 112 miles of biking, and to top it off, 26.2 mile marathon run. More than 100,000 people attempt to complete this event each year to see what they are capable of accomplishing. Less than 1% of the population has done an Ironman, and this event truly tests your physical and mental capabilities. Hours and hours of training are needed to prepare for this event. A lot of people train as hard as they can, as often as they can, and this may not be the best approach. Let's go to the science lab, do some testing, and see the results. We'll find out what's the most efficient way to train and take a look at the scientific part of this approach. I went to the UT Austin Fitness Institute of Texas with my assistant coach Harold. In the lab, we did 2 tests on the bike. The first test, we started at 200 watts on the bike. This measures the amount of power I'm able to produce when I'm pedaling on the bike. Every 3 minutes, we would increase the wattage, also getting lactate at the end of each 3 minutes. This was my first lactate testing, and the goal here is to get that LT1 and LT2, which is 2 and 4 millimoles respectively. LT stands for lactate threshold. Lactate is how much lactic acid is in your body. Once we successfully collected the 2.0 and 4.0 millimoles, the test was concluded. We took 20 to 30 minutes of break and moved on to our next test, a VO2 max test, where we had this cool mask on. This started at 80 watts on the bike. Every 1 minute, we would add 30 more watts, and the goal here was to find my VO2 max and go until failure. With these 2 tests combined, we were able to get some pretty good data and make some pretty good graph that we're able to interpret from. I love being transparent about my data as an up-and-coming pro triathlete. I just started triathlon just under 3 years ago and going into my 2nd pro season. I have a collegiate swimming background, so I'm used to pushing very hard efforts in the pool. Here's a snapshot of my data. In this table, we can see each of our data with a heart rate and power. My LT1, 161 heart rate, LT2, 175 heart rate. Aerobic threshold has a low 138 heart rate, anaerobic threshold 175 heart rate. In this table, there's 5 training zones that we usually use. The first training zone is easy, 110 to 138 heart rate. Zone 2 is also known as the aerobic zone. Zone 2 would be 139 to 150 heart rate. Zone 3, also known as sweet spot or tempo zone, 151 to 159 heart rate. Zone 4, threshold heart rate. Usually the heart rate I can hold for just under an hour. 160 to 176. Zone 5 is also known as VO2 max, an effort that I can't hold for too long, usually less than 10 minutes, 176 plus heart rate. In this chart, we can see that my power outage for my aerobic threshold is 230 watts, which is pretty far away from my LT1. LT1 and aerobic threshold should be pretty close together, so this is my main weakness, while my LT2 and anaerobic threshold is really high up and very close together. In this bar chart, we see how much carbs and fat I'm burning in each zone. The goal is to have zone 1 and 2 burn more fat than carbs, and I can see why I'm bonking in most of my races because I'm only taking 60, 80, 100 grams of carbs an hour, and while I'm at zone 3, 4, or even 5, I'm burning a lot of carbs. And like my assistant coach predicted, I'm a sugar burner. The best marathoner in the world, Eliud Kipchoge, ran a marathon in 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 40 seconds. This equates to an astonishing 4 minute and 34 second per mile, for 26.2 miles. I haven't even ran a mile in 4 minutes 34 seconds, let alone for 26.2 consecutive miles. In his training, 85% of it is usually in zone 1 and the zone 2 category, and the other 15% is working on his threshold and sweet spot or tempo category. Of those 85% of those 200 kilometer weekly mileage, he's doing zone 1, zone 2. In terms of pacing, that's 6 minutes 30 seconds per mile, up to 8 minutes per mile on his easy run. 8 minutes per mile. That's 3 minutes and 30 seconds slower than his marathon race pace. If your marathon race pace is 7 minutes per mile, then add 3 minutes to that, your easy pace should be 10 minutes per mile pace. Which may seem slow, but at the end of the day, you are working on building your aerobic system. Since Ironman Texas is about 5 weeks away, I'll probably have 4 weeks of solid building, 1 week of taper. I think a week of taper for me should suffice. For me, I don't think I need 2 weeks of taper. The plan is to build, and for the run, build to maybe that 60, 65. I'm not sure about the 70, but I think we'll cap it off at 65 miles per week. And the main goal is to target that right around 138 heart rate and see over the next couple days, the next couple weeks, how fast I can run at that 138 heart rate. And that will matter during an endurance event like an Ironman. With that being said, my biking and my running are my two main weaknesses. So I gotta put a lot of time into those two sports, meaning 80 to 90% going into the zone 1, zone 2 training, while the other 10-15% I'll do some zone 3 sweet spots, zone 4 threshold, or maybe some zone 5 VO2 max sessions. But my main goal is to build this aerobic base. Because the best in the world, they've been doing this for such long years, decades, and they already have built up this solid foundation. And that's what I'm missing. On the other hand, for my swimming, I do believe I am training too hard. Since this is my strength, I don't need to be racing every single practice. I've been having hard swim practices, doing 80-100s on a 120 interval in a meters pool, averaging each 100 112, and doing an all-out from the blocks 100 fast coming in 53 seconds, 100 meters. It's good to have these sessions for a pool swimmer, but as an open water swimmer, these are not necessary. I should maybe do a max of 1 threshold session per week, while the rest is all mainly aerobic. And this also ties into your effort level. If you're swimming really hard, it will affect your bike and run. Find out your weakness. If you're a strong swimmer, swim less and bike and run more, and add more intensity to the bike and run and hold off on the intensity on the swim. I know we all love to push really hard during training, especially when some people are working full-time and have limited number of hours, but maybe that might not be right for you. Using this zone 1 and zone 2 approach, you're able to train slower, which is good. It's easier, but it does has its pros and cons, and I'm pretty curious of what you guys think. I hope you can take something out of this video and apply it to your training. Thank you so much for watching this video. After getting a lactate and VO2 test, my coach and I has a better idea of how to train for my upcoming race, Ironman Texas. Again, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.